The late afternoon sun dipped low over Santa Rosa, a modest city nestled in Sonoma County, California, casting long shadows across the quiet streets of the suburban neighborhood. Dr. Samuel Carter, a seasoned family physician at 52, adjusted his glasses as he stepped out of his examination room at Carter Family Clinic. The modest practice, opened 3 years ago, had become a cornerstone of the community, its waiting room a revolving door of familiar faces. Today, though, the air felt heavier, charged with an unease Samuel couldn't quite place. He approached the nurse's station, where Maria Alvarez, his trusted nurse assistant, was organizing patient files. "Maria, this was left behind by Mrs. Gomez," Samuel said, handing over a pair of reading glasses in a worn leather case. "Could you give her a call?" Maria nodded, tucking the case into a drawer. "Right away, Dr. Carter." Her eyes flicked toward the waiting area, where only a few patients remained as closing time neared. Samuel followed her gaze, landing on a man and a young girl seated in the corner. The man, broad-shouldered and dressed in a navy polo, sat with his arms crossed, his posture rigid. The girl beside him, clad in a faded red hoodie, seemed to shrink into her chair, her hands fidgeting in her lap. Recognition sparked in Samuel's mind. "James, isn't it?" he called, striding over with a practiced smile. "James Torres, our neighbor from down the street?" The man stood, extending a hand. "Dr. Carter, good to see you." His grip was firm, almost too tight. "Didn't expect to run into you here." "Call me Samuel outside the clinic," the doctor replied warmly, turning to the girl. "And this must be Sophia. I've seen you around, but I don't think we've officially met." Sophia's eyes remained glued to the floor, her only response a faint nod. Her fingers twisted the drawstrings of her hoodie, her shoulders hunched as if shielding herself from the world. "We'll be with you soon," Samuel assured them, noting the girl's discomfort but attributing it to the usual nerves of a doctor's visit. "Just wrapping up some paperwork." Back in his examination room, Samuel settled at his desk, flipping through patient charts. Maria entered, her movements brisk as she sanitized the equipment. "Dr. Carter," she said, her voice low, "there's something off about that father and daughter out there." Samuel looked up, his pen pausing. "Off? How so?" Maria frowned, wiping down the ultrasound machine. "When I took Sophia's vitals, her father answered every question for her. Her name, her age, everything. I had to insist on hearing her voice, and even then she wouldn't look at me. Not once." Samuel leaned back, considering. "I know James. He lives just a few houses down. He's always been a bit controlling. Some parents are like that." Maria's expression didn't soften. "I'm Mexican too, Dr. Carter. This isn't cultural. It's something else." She handed him Sophia's chart, her lips pressed into a thin line. Samuel's eyes scanned the page and his breath caught. 14 years old, pregnancy symptoms, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. The words felt like a weight sinking into the quiet room. Maria nodded grimly. "That's why I'm worried." "Send them in," Samuel said, smoothing his white coat and bracing himself. The door opened, and James guided Sophia inside, his hand firm on her shoulder. The girl moved stiffly, her eyes still downcast, her hoodie swallowing her slight frame. "Thank you for seeing us, doctor," James said, settling into a chair beside the examination table. "It's late, I know." "Of course," Samuel replied, his tone professional but gentle. "What brings you here?" James shifted, his discomfort palpable. "It's not easy to say, but Sophia's pregnant." The bluntness of the statement hit Samuel like a physical blow, though the chart had prepared him. He glanced at Sophia, who stared at her hands, silent. "Sophia," he said softly, "how have you been feeling?" Before she could respond, James cut in. "Morning sickness, tiredness, some stomach pain recently." His voice was steady, but there was an edge to it, a warning. Samuel kept his focus on Sophia. "Would you like to answer, Sophia?" She gave a small nod, barely perceptible, but remained silent. Samuel pressed on, his tone careful. "And how did this pregnancy happen?" James answered again. "She's got a boyfriend. We don't need to discuss him." His words were final, shutting down the topic. Samuel's unease grew. "I understand this is sensitive, but patient confidentiality is assured, Mr. Torres. No one outside this room will know." James nodded, his expression unreadable. "Good. That's what we need." Samuel turned to Sophia. "I'd like to do an ultrasound to check on the baby. Is that okay with you?" She nodded, still avoiding his gaze. Maria helped her onto the table, and Samuel applied the gel, noting how Sophia flinched at the touch. As he moved the transducer across her abdomen, The screen flickered to life, revealing the image he dreaded. His heart sank. "Sophia," he said, his voice steady despite the panic rising in his chest, "you're about 28 weeks along." James's eyes widened. "That's not possible. It hasn't been that long." Samuel's gaze sharpened. "Have you seen an obstetrician before this?" "No," James admitted. "This is her first visit." Samuel studied the screen, his frown deepening. "It's a girl, but there are concerning signs. The baby's growth is restricted, intrauterine growth restriction or IGR. And there's an irregular fetal heartbeat." "What does that mean?" James asked, his tone clipped. "It means the baby isn't growing properly, possibly due to placental issues or other complications. She needs immediate hospital care, Doppler studies, specialized monitoring." Samuel's voice was firm, urgent. James's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "We'll take care of it." As they left, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Sophia's silence, James's control, the gravity of the ultrasound findings, it all gnawed at him. Back at his desk, he scribbled a note to follow up with Sophia's case, a promise to himself that he wouldn't let this slip through the cracks. Samuel Carter's home was a sanctuary of order, a stark contrast to the chaos of the evening's events. The clock on his nightstand glowed 10:15 p.m. as he sat on the edge of his bed, the ultrasound images from Sophia's visit still vivid in his mind. The restricted growth, the irregular heartbeat, it wasn't just medical data, it was a warning. Something about James Torres's demeanor, his insistence on speaking for Sophia, had set off alarms that Samuel couldn't ignore. He opened his laptop, accessing the clinic's electronic medical records. The ultrasound images loaded slowly, each pixel confirming his fears: decreased blood flow, potential placental dysfunction. The baby was in distress, and every hour without intervention increased the risk. Samuel's thoughts drifted to Sophia's averted eyes, her nervous fidgeting. Was it fear of the appointment or something deeper? His phone buzzed, startling him. The caller ID showed Elena Rivera, Sophia's mother, a name he hadn't seen in years. They'd met briefly at a neighborhood barbecue before her divorce from James, when Sophia was just a toddler. Samuel answered, his voice cautious. "Elena?" "Dr. Carter, it's about Sophia." Elena's voice trembled. "James called me, said she's pregnant. I haven't seen her in months because of the restraining order, but I know something's wrong. Is she okay?" Samuel hesitated, bound by confidentiality but compelled by concern. "She was at my clinic today. She's 28 weeks pregnant, but there are complications. I've advised James to take her to the hospital immediately." "Oh God," Elena whispered, her voice breaking. "She's only 14. How did this happen?" "James said it was a boyfriend, but I don't trust him. He's always been controlling." Samuel's stomach twisted. "Elena, I can't discuss details, but I'm concerned too. I'll check on her again. For now, stay calm to avoid stressing her further." "I want to see her," Elena insisted. "I don't care about the restraining order. If she's not safe, call the police." "I'll keep you updated," Samuel promised, ending the call. He stared at the ultrasound images, the grainy outline of a tiny life in jeopardy. James had lied about the hospital visit. He'd sensed it in the man's evasiveness. Waiting until morning wasn't an option. Samuel changed into jeans and a sweater, the cool night air hitting him as he stepped outside. The fog had thickened, cloaking the neighborhood in an eerie hush. The Torres house loomed 3 doors down, its windows glowing faintly. Samuel's resolve hardened as he approached, rehearsing his words. He needed answers and Sophia needed help. He knocked firmly, the sound echoing in the quiet. No answer. He knocked again, louder. The door creaked open, revealing Sophia, her eyes wide with surprise. "Dr. Carter?" she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. "Sophia, did you go to the hospital?" Samuel asked, keeping his voice low. She shook her head, her fingers twisting the hem of her hoodie. Before she could say more, James's voice boomed from inside. "Who's at the door, Sophia?" Fear flashed across her face. "Please go," she whispered, pushing the door closed. Samuel's hand stopped it. "Sophia, I can help you. Please let me." "I can't," she breathed, shutting the door. He stood frozen, torn between respecting her fear and his duty to protect her. Something was wrong, deeply, viscerally wrong. As he turned to leave, the door swung open again. James stood there, his expression dark. "Dr. Carter, why are you here?" "It's late." "I'm worried about Sophia," Samuel said, his tone steady. "You said she'd gone to the hospital, but I've learned that's not true. She needs immediate care." James's jaw clenched. You're checking up on me? My daughter's health is my business. As her doctor, it's mine too, Samuel countered. The baby's condition is critical. Delaying could be dangerous. A light flicked on next door, a curtain twitching. James's demeanor shifted. Let's talk inside, he said, his voice suddenly smooth. No need to bother the neighbors. Samuel hesitated, then stepped into the sparsely furnished living room. Sophia sat on the couch, her eyes fixed on the floor. Sophia, how are you feeling? He asked gently. She's fine, James interjected. Just tired? Pregnancy's hard, right? Samuel ignored him, focusing on Sophia. The ultrasound showed serious issues. We need to get you to a hospital tonight. We'll go tomorrow, James said firmly. She needs rest. Every hour matters, Samuel pressed, his frustration mounting. The doorbell rang, breaking the tension. That's dinner, James said, heading to the door. Sophia, stay with the doctor. In that moment, Sophia moved quickly, slipping several folded photographs into Samuel's hand. He tucked them into his pocket as James returned with a pizza box. What were you two talking about? James asked, his eyes narrowing. Sophia's hungry, Samuel said smoothly. She needs proper nutrition. James smirked. See, I'm a good father. His tone turned dismissive. Thanks for your concern, doctor, but it's late. Samuel nodded, recognizing the end of the conversation. I'll check in tomorrow, he said, a promise and a warning. As he walked home, the photographs burned in his pocket. He didn't look at them until he was safely inside, but when he did, his world tilted. The images showed Sophia, vulnerable and exposed, with James in the frame. The truth was undeniable, horrifying. James wasn't just her father, he was her abuser and the father of her child. Samuel's hands shook as he dialed 911. I need to report child abuse and endangerment, he said, his voice steady despite the rage boiling inside. A 14-year-old girl, 28 weeks pregnant. The father is the abuser. She needs immediate medical attention. Samuel paced his living room, the photographs spread across his desk like a grim mosaic. Each image was a testament to Sophia's suffering, a silent scream for help. He'd taken photos of them with his phone, sending them to Elena with a message, police are on their way. Stay calm, we'll get Sophia out. His phone rang almost instantly. I'm coming now, Elena said, her voice raw. That monster, I'll kill him. Elena, let the police handle it, Samuel urged. Sophia needs you safe and calm. How could he do this to her? Elena sobbed. I knew something was wrong, but this. She was brave enough to give me the photos, Samuel said. We'll get her help. After hanging up, he checked the window, watching for the police. The minutes dragged, each one heavy with the weight of Sophia's plight. Finally, flashing lights appeared, silent and deliberate. Samuel hurried outside to meet the officers. Detective Luis Hernandez, the lead officer, introduced himself. You made the call? Yes, Dr. Samuel Carter. He handed over the photographs. Sophia gave me these tonight. She's 28 weeks pregnant with serious complications. She needs a hospital now. Hernandez examined the photos, his face hardening. And she's inside with the suspect? Yes, James Torres, her father, Samuel confirmed. The officers moved toward the house, positioning themselves strategically. Hernandez knocked, announcing their presence. No response. After several attempts, he signaled his team. Possible endangered minor. We're going in. A battering ram splintered the door, and the officers surged inside, calling out their presence. Samuel stayed back, his heart pounding. Neighbors began to gather, whispering among themselves. An older couple approached. What's happening? The woman asked. Before Samuel could respond, shouts erupted from the house. They're on the roof, an officer yelled. Samuel looked up to see James pulling Sophia onto the roof above the garage, his grip tight on her wrist. Stay back, James shouted. I'll push her if you come closer. Sophia's cries cut through the night. Please don't. Samuel's blood ran cold. James, don't do this, he called. The police have the photos. It's over. James's face twisted with rage. She gave you those pictures, you traitor. A car screeched to a halt and Elena emerged screaming, That's my daughter. An officer restrained her as she fought to reach Sophia. Hernandez used a megaphone. James Torres, released the girl and surrender. Officers crept toward the attic window, closing in. James, cornered, made his choice. With a shove, he pushed Sophia off the roof. She screamed, landing on an inflatable cushion below. Officers tackled James as he tried to flee, cuffing him roughly. Samuel rushed to Sophia, paramedics already at her side. "I'm her doctor," he said, kneeling. "Sophia, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened, tears streaming. "The baby? Is she okay?" "We're getting you to the hospital," Samuel said, feeling for fetal movement. "You were so brave." The ambulance's sirens wailed as it sped through Santa Rosa's quiet streets, carrying Sophia, Elena, and Samuel to the hospital. Inside, Samuel monitored Sophia's vitals, his stethoscope pressed to her abdomen. "The heartbeat's irregular but strong," he told her. "The fall didn't cause immediate trauma, but we need a full examination." Elena clutched Sophia's hand, tears falling. "I'm here, baby. I'm never leaving you again." Sophia's eyes met her mother's, a flicker of relief amidst the fear. "I missed you, Mom." At the hospital, Dr. Clara Mendez, a high-risk pregnancy specialist, met them at the emergency bay. Samuel briefed her. 28 weeks, IGR, fetal arrhythmia, possible trauma from a fall. "We'll take it from here," Clara said. "Thank you, Dr. Carter." In the waiting area, Elena sat rigid, her hands clasped tightly. Samuel joined her, his mind replaying the night's events. Detective Hernandez arrived with a woman from Child Protective Services, Rachel Bennett. "We need your statement, Dr. Carter," Hernandez said. "From the beginning." Samuel recounted everything. The clinic visit, Sophia's silence, the ultrasound, the photographs, and James's lies. Sophia's comment about the baby kicking when she heard his voice. "It makes sense now. It wasn't a boyfriend. It was James." Hernandez's expression darkened. "We found a hidden room in the basement. Cameras, photos, equipment. This has been ongoing for years." Elena stifled a sob. "How could I not know?" "Predators isolate their victims," Rachel explained. "They cut them off from everyone. Friends, family, school." Hernandez turned to Elena. "Ms. Rivera, how did James get custody?" Elena's voice trembled as she explained her past, her divorce, her gambling addiction, the night she left Sophia alone, and James's manipulation of the courts. "He portrayed me as unfit, got a restraining order and moved here. I had no idea what he was doing to her." The weight of her words settled over the room. Samuel placed a hand on her shoulder. "You couldn't have known. But Sophia reached out tonight, and that's what matters." Clara returned with an update. "Sophia's stable, and the baby's heart is responding to medication. We'll keep monitoring." Elena's relief was palpable. "Can I see her?" "Soon," Clara promised. "We're running tests." As they waited, Samuel reflected on the fragility of trust, how easily a predator could hide behind a facade of normalcy. Sophia's courage had shattered that facade, and now the system had to protect her. Elena sat by Sophia's hospital bed, her daughter's hands small and fragile in hers. The room was quiet, save for the soft beeping of monitors. Sophia slept, her face peaceful for the first time that night. Elena's mind churned with guilt and rage, guilt for the years she'd lost, rage at James for the horrors he'd inflicted. Samuel stood at the door, speaking quietly with Rachel Bennett. "Sophia will need a safe home once she's discharged," Rachel said. "We'll evaluate Ms. Rivera's situation, but given the circumstances, reunification seems likely." "I've been preparing for this," Elena interjected, overhearing. "I have a room for Sophia, savings, a stable job now. I've been clean for years." Rachel nodded. "We'll conduct a home visit, but it sounds promising." Sophia stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Mom?" "I'm here," Elena said, brushing a strand of hair from Sophia's face. "You're safe now." Sophia's gaze shifted to Samuel. "Dr. Carter, thank you. I didn't know who else to trust." "You did the right thing," Samuel said. "You're stronger than you know." Clara entered, checking the monitors. "The steroid injections are helping the baby's lungs. We're cautiously optimistic, but the next 48 hours are critical." "What about him?" Sophia asked, her voice barely audible. "He's in custody," Hernandez said, stepping into the room. "The evidence is overwhelming, your photos, the basement room, your testimony. He's facing serious charges." Sophia nodded, a mix of relief and sorrow crossing her face. "And the baby? Will she be okay?" "We're doing everything we can," Clara assured her. "You focus on resting." "I want to keep her," Sophia said suddenly, her voice firm. "She's not to blame for what happened. I want her to have a good life." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "We'll raise her together, Sophia. You, me, and your daughter. She'll be loved." Samuel watched the exchange, his heart swelling with admiration for Sophia's resilience and Elena's determination. The road ahead would be long, but they had each other. As he left the room, he felt a quiet resolve to stay involved, to ensure Sophia and her baby received the care they needed. The next morning, Samuel returned to the hospital, unable to stay away. Sophia was awake, eating a light breakfast while Elena hovered protectively. Detective Hernandez arrived with an update. We've processed the house. The basement room was extensive. Hidden behind a false wall, soundproofed, with years' worth of photos and videos. Sophia's face paled, but she nodded. He kept me there when anyone visited. Said it was for my safety. Elena's hands clenched into fists. How did no one notice? He was careful, Hernandez said. Homeschooling records were falsified just enough to pass inspections. Neighbors thought Sophia was shy, not isolated. Samuel's mind flashed to the times he'd seen Sophia in the neighborhood, always with James, always silent. He'd assumed she was reserved, not imprisoned. The guilt of his oversight gnawed at him. We found letters, Hernandez continued. Sophia, you wrote to your mother, didn't you? But they were never sent. Sophia's eyes widened. I hid them under my mattress. I hoped one day she'd find them. Elena's voice broke. I would have come for you, baby. If I'd known. You're here now, Sophia said, squeezing her mother's hand. Rachel Bennett joined the conversation. Sophia, we'll need your statement to build the case. You don't have to do it alone. We can arrange counseling support. Sophia nodded. I'll do it. I want him to pay for what he did. Samuel admired her courage, but he saw the toll it took. Sophia, you've been through so much. It's okay to take time to heal. I know, she said softly. But I want to protect her. She touched her belly, a protective gesture. Clara updated them on the baby's condition. The heart rhythm is stabilizing, but we're still addressing the growth restriction. Sophia, your nutrition and rest are critical now. I'll make sure she has everything she needs, Elena vowed. As Samuel left, he passed the hospital chapel, pausing to light a candle. He wasn't religious, but the act felt right, a small gesture of hope for Sophia and her daughter's future. News of James Torres's arrest spread through Santa Rosa like wildfire. By noon, neighbors gathered outside the cordoned-off Torres house, whispering about the horrors uncovered. Samuel overheard snippets as he walked to his clinic, shock, disbelief, guilt for not noticing sooner. At the clinic, Maria greeted him, her eyes red. I should have pushed harder yesterday, she said. I knew something was wrong. We both missed it, Samuel admitted. But we acted when it counted. The day's appointments were a blur, patients asking about the incident down the street. Samuel deflected, focusing on his work, but his thoughts stayed with Sophia. By evening, he returned to the hospital, where Sophia was undergoing another ultrasound. Clara met him in the hall. The baby's growth is still behind, but the steroids are helping. We're hopeful she can reach a safer gestational age before delivery. Elena was with Sophia, reading to her from a worn copy of Charlotte's Web. Sophia smiled faintly, a glimpse of the child she still was. Dr. Carter, you're back, she said. I wanted to check on you, he replied. How's the book? It's my favorite, Sophia said. Mom used to read it to me. Elena's eyes glistened. We'll make new memories, Sophia. Better ones. Hernandez arrived with news. We've charged Torres with multiple felonies. The DA's confident with the evidence. Sophia, your statement will seal it. Sophia nodded, her resolve firm. I'm ready. Samuel marveled at her strength. She was a survivor, not just a victim. As he drove home, he passed the Torres house, now dark and silent. The neighborhood would never be the same, but perhaps that was necessary, a wake-up call to see what had been hidden in plain sight. Days turned into weeks, and Sophia remained in the hospital, her condition closely monitored. Elena never left her side, transforming the sterile room with photos, books, and soft blankets. Samuel visited daily, bringing small gifts, a journal for Sophia, a stuffed animal for the baby. One afternoon, Rachel Bennett arrived with paperwork. The home evaluation went well, Ms. Rivera. Sophia can be discharged to your care once she's medically cleared. Elena's relief was palpable. Thank you. I've waited so long for this. Sophia, now more talkative, shared bits of her dreams. I want to go back to school, she said. And maybe one day be a nurse like Maria. You'd be amazing, Samuel said, smiling. You've got the heart for it. Clara provided an update. The baby's lungs are developing well, and the heart rhythm is stable. We're aiming for at least 34 weeks before delivery, but Sophia's health is improving, which helps. Outside, the community began to rally. A neighbor organized a fundraiser for Sophia and Elena, raising money for medical bills and baby supplies. Samuel donated anonymously, moved by the outpouring of support. Hernandez called with an update. Torres is pleading not guilty, but the evidence is airtight. Trial set for next month. Sofia took the news quietly. I just want it to be over, she said. It will be, Elena promised. And we'll be okay. Samuel watched them, mother and daughter, rebuilding their bond. It wasn't just medical care that was saving Sofia, it was love, trust, and the promise of a future free from fear. The trial loomed, casting a shadow over Sofia's recovery. She was discharged from the hospital at 34 weeks, moving into Elena's small but welcoming apartment. Samuel visited often, checking Sofia's health and offering support. Elena had transformed a spare room into a nursery, painted soft yellow, with a crib donated by the community. Sofia attended counseling sessions, slowly unpacking the trauma. It's hard to talk about, she told Samuel one day, but I want to be strong for my daughter. You already are, he replied. Every step you take is proof of that. The trial began, and Sofia testified via video link to avoid facing James in person. Her statement was clear, unwavering, detailing years of abuse and isolation. Elena held her hand through it, tears streaming silently. Samuel attended as a witness, describing the clinic visit and the photographs. The courtroom was heavy with emotion, the jury visibly shaken by the evidence. Hernandez assured them the case was solid, but the wait for a verdict was agonizing. One evening, Sofia called Samuel. I named her, she said. Oh, it feels right. It's perfect, Samuel said, his voice thick. She's lucky to have you. As the trial neared its end, Sofia's health stabilized and Hope's condition improved. Clara estimated a delivery in 2 weeks, assuming no complications. The community continued to support them, offering meals and baby clothes, a reminder that Sofia wasn't alone. The verdict came swiftly, guilty on all counts. James Torres was sentenced to life without parole. Sofia, watching the news with Elena, let out a breath she'd been holding for years. It's really over, she whispered. Elena hugged her tightly. You did it, Sofia. You're free. 2 weeks later, Sofia went into labor. Samuel was at the hospital, ready to assist Clara. After a tense but successful delivery, Hope was born, a small but healthy girl, her cries filling the room with life. Sofia held her daughter, tears of joy mixing with relief. She's beautiful, Elena said, stroking Hope's tiny hand. Samuel watched, his heart full. He'd seen countless births, but this one felt different, a triumph over unimaginable darkness. As he left the hospital, the first light of dawn broke over Santa Rosa, painting the sky in hues of hope. Back home, Samuel reflected on the journey. Medicine was his calling, but this case had taught him something deeper. Healing went beyond the body. It required seeing the unseen, hearing the unspoken, and acting when others looked away. Sofia and Hope were proof that even in the darkest moments, courage and compassion could light the way forward.